So admittedly, I got really jealous. I was pissed that I was doing as much as I could, working hard, working tons of hours at a job to have money and to make ends meet, doing my best to try to keep going in Street Fighter, and it wasn't working, you know? Urban style individual.
Now, real quick, y'all, before we get started, I want to give a very special shout out to the very first member of the channel, JG Winnow. I appreciate you supporting the channel, bro. Thank you. What's up with y'all? Hopefully this video finds you in good spirits, and if not, well, at least you're not DSP. And I just want to say, you can always tell when someone is not content with their current accomplishments when all they can talk about are their past accomplishments. So let's get into it.
I got a $2 tip. Someone says, earlier you mentioned being jealous of Ricky and Justin. In your June the King React, you mentioned jealousy of other YouTubers, particularly in 2015. Do you have any advice in terms of how to handle jealousy and control it? How did your jealousy come out? Did you just tell them you're jealous? Tell who? Yes, what I would do is I would walk up to people at tournaments and say, I'm jealous of you.
Now, we all know that's not happening. I don't think Phil's going to walk up to anybody and say anything, let alone anything confrontational or something that could be perceived as confrontational, depending on how he says it. That's not even in his nature. What he will do, though, is go on the internet and run his mouth.
What? No, you go to a tournament and you play against people in a competition. You don't, what are you talking about? No, you know, jealousy is a problem. I'll be honest, jealousy is a problem. Because if you're someone who feels like you're working hard and you're trying your best, but you see others around you who have more, or maybe it's a notion that's conceived that they're doing better than you, but you're working hard, you're like, well, why don't I have that, right? If I, was playing Street Fighter as much as I possibly could, right? Which means, Friday, Saturday nights, I would go to my local arcades and play against people. Sometimes when the games went to console, we would go to each other's homes and play and practice, right? And as often as I could, I would go to tournaments. I would save up money and I would pay to go to a tournament and play against as many people as I could, right? But I couldn't do it often. I was working. Like I said, I was in school. I was doing all these things.
Now, of course, we already know where he's going with this, right? Because we know a lot of how Phil views himself is based on what he believes his skill set is when it comes to fighting games, right? So he's always trying to protect his ego when it comes to fighting games. Now he's going to frame it as if those guys just had more time to play the game than he does, when in actuality, Phil has more time than anyone to play games.
I just didn't have freedom to just do whatever I wanted. I would always try to go to ECC, which was East Coast Championships. I would try to go to a couple regionals. Usually if there was a tournament in Connecticut or New York, if I could make it, I would try to go. But I couldn't go often. Later on, I say mid-2000s, I started going more to Texas Showdown, amazing tournament series. Final round in Atlanta, amazing tournament series. All the stuff in Philly, amazing tournament series with Eric, Big E, who would run them. Those are some of my favorite tournaments I've ever been to. Super fun. Great people organizing them and all of that. It was more hanging out as much as playing Street Fighter, okay? But I couldn't go to all of them. And there were literally people who would go to every tournament.
Now, this is Phil's jealousy coming to the forefront. Now, for whatever reason, he still has not let this stuff go, as trivial as it is, but it still burns him up. So I'm gonna let him continue.
Justin Wong was one of them. Ricky Ortiz was another, okay? Where they just seem to be at every event. Everywhere you went, there they are. And by the way, they're always winning. Well, you think about it. Let's see the correlation. They can afford to go to every event. They have free time to do it. They don't have commitments in their life otherwise, so they can just go to every Street Fighter tournament, and then they win them. Well, I wonder why.
Phil is acting as if a Street Fighter tournament is being held every single day. You don't know what they were doing in their personal lives or what their family arrangements are. This is you once again running your mouth because you don't understand. Some people actually care about what they're doing, so they're going to approach it with a certain level of vigor. And for a part of their life, that is going to be the focal point, and it's going to appear as if nothing else matters, because that is what passion is, Phil.
Because they play more than anyone because they can, right? Maybe if I was able to play that much, I would have been up there too, but I couldn't. I just had other things going on in life, other commitments, reality of having to work and have a job to pay for things. I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they got funding from somewhere, investors, if their parents were rich, who knows, right? I know they weren't doing full-time jobs because you couldn't while also traveling for Street Fighter. It wasn't.
So you just said you don't know, right? And then you go on to say definitively that they did not have jobs. Phil, this is why people do not like you. Because even when you try to appear as if you're just having a normal conversation, the jealousy and envy oozes out of you. And we can all feel it. Look at his face right now. He hates the fact that Justin is more prominent on the internet than he is. And not just for his fighting game prowess, but as an entertainer. You can tell that Justin cares about the user or the audience experience, right? Opposed to Phil, because we know what comes with Phil.
So admittedly, I got really jealous. I was pissed that I was doing as much as I could, working hard, working tons of hours at a job to have money and to make ends meet, doing my best to try to keep going in Street Fighter, and it wasn't working, you know? I told you the story, the Evo that I did the best at, which was Evo in Vegas, where I got 4th place in Super Turbo. I literally maxed out my credit cards, taking cash advances on a credit card to go to that event because I couldn't afford it otherwise.
Now that shows you or gives you some insight into his terrible relationship with money. Phil has always been terrible with money. And I think a lot of that comes from him being a Nepo baby. Because when his father got him that job, do you think he came in entry level? Do you think he was taking out the trash and sweeping the floors? Of course not. He was thrust into a position that he did not earn. He probably had very little knowledge of, and he was making far more money than he should have been at that time. So it wasn't a feeling of earning it. It's a lot like when people win a lottery and then you hear 3 years later that they're flat broke, right? There's a certain level of hesitation that comes with things when you earn them.
You know, I had a full-time job, but I you know, between paying for an, you know, everything, you know, health insurance, my rent, food, bills, all that stuff, and the job that I had, I couldn't afford to just do this shit. I had to max out a credit card in order to do it, you know?
What a terrible decision. But it's even funnier how he's trying to act as if he was some type of martyr. like this is somehow a good thing. You were an adult when you were doing this. Phil, that's a terrible decision. I don't care how you try to frame it. It makes no sense for you to max out a credit card so you can go play goddamn fighting games when you got rent due and car notes and all this other stuff that comes with being an adult, by the way. You know, we don't get credit for the things that we are supposed to do. Okay?
So I don't know how they did it. And, you know, same thing on YouTube. Here I am as a young YouTuber, because I was in my 20s. And I'm literally working 7 days a week, okay, making videos nonstop, buying a game, playing through it within 2-3 days, videos, uploading the videos constantly, making more content for one person than anyone else that I'd ever heard of on YouTube, right? Who else was pumping out that level of content that much as I was? And I was a one-man show. You know, yes, I did co-op with John Rambo once a week, but outside of that, everything else I did was all me breaking my back every day, putting out all these videos.
Did this man just say breaking his back, putting out videos? What part about video creation and video game playing is strenuous? I still have yet to figure that out, because for most people, video games are a pastime or something that they do to relax, actually. But for Phil, he's trying to make it seem as if he's trying to build an aqueduct or something.
And then to see, oh, someone did a virally popular thing and now they have 2 million subs on YouTube, and overnight every video they do gets 100,000 to 500,000 views, while you're here breaking your back pumping out gameplay videos that get a few thousand views. Yeah. Jealousy. That's what happens, right?
Jealousy is what happens when you're a negative person. If you see somebody doing more or doing better than you, maybe they're in your same niche or they're your contemporary at your job, and you feel jealousy, that's something inside of you. Because what you should feel is inspiration, right? Drive to want to achieve that. But it should not be driven by malice or by envy, because then you start to become covetous. And that becomes the whole of who you are, opposed to what your original mission was, right? You start to lose yourself in some of those feelings, right? Because the anger over time, you know, it starts to build and it turns into rage, you know? And when you get upset, people do dumb shit. You know, we're trying to avoid that.
That's literally how you get pissed. You're like, man, I was working my butt off and everyone else, you see other people surpassing you and you get jealous. It's just a natural thing. I think it's a human emotion that's natural and it's not, let me put it this way. There's nothing wrong with jealousy as long as you don't turn that jealousy into something that's unhealthy or toxic, right? Like simply being jealous of someone else's success when you are a hard worker, I think is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do feel like if you then take it into like, oh, now you're going to be toxic and you're going to be going and insulting people constantly. Oh, well, that person's more successful than me, but that's just because everyone's dumb, right? Everyone likes toxic content. They're all morons, right? I used to do that. I used to insult everyone else who liked other content. Now, you know what? If you like other content, go and enjoy it.
It took him until he was 50 years old to be able to functionally deal with someone else's opinion about video games. This is so ridiculous. And he can't even be objective and look at his peers and say, you know what? That guy is better than me. You know why? Because some people are just innately talented and there's nothing you can do about it, right? Any of you who play high school or collegiate sports or were involved in anything where you have a team, there were certain people on the team that were just different. And it didn't matter how many push-ups you did or how much running you did, you would never be able to bridge the gap between you and them from a talent perspective. And this is the issue that Phil does not understand. It's not always about the technical aspect of things, playing the video game or how loud your mic is and all this other stuff. A lot of time it's about personality and talent, right? It's about talent. People are drawn to personalities, not necessarily the topic. The topic helps. But Phil still does not understand this.
I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to criticize you and say you're stupid for liking other people's content. I'm just grateful that you like mine and you're here to watch and enjoy it. Because, I think what it is when I was younger, when I was a YouTuber, I was very full of myself and I felt like my shit didn't stink and I felt like everything I did was the best. And how could anyone like anything other than my content? Obviously, mine's the best, right? So what happens is you get humbled. And now here we are 17 years later from when I was super popular on YouTube. And I'm a much smaller guy now when in terms of, I guess, yeah, actually I am a much smaller guy. I actually have lost all the weight, but also in terms of, views and reach and popularity, right? So now you get humbled. You're like, well, maybe your shit wasn't the best, right? And now
It took you that long to figure it out. It doesn't matter what you claim or what you think of what you're doing, especially if you're presenting it to other people, right? Now, it does help, but anytime you're going to present something to an audience, you should be trying to formulate it for their enjoyment. It doesn't make sense. Even back then when he was pumping out all those videos and he was so prolific, it was like it was slop then and it's slop now. Even back then, you could tell that you didn't care about what you were doing. You were just so hyper focused on being first, flooding the algorithm with all these videos so people would have to sift through a pool of nonsense if they ever wanted to get to anything that was actually worth watching. So it was never meritocracy, Phil. It wasn't like you were the most talented guy or you were the best guy. You were just first.
that's why you are where you are. But I'm just grateful to have a following and an audience as long as I had. And I've been doing it for so long that I'm basically kind of like installed into the minds of so many people that I know I'm going to be fine. It just means I'll never blow up like I was, but I'm okay with what I've become over all this time, right? I'm happy for that. And I'm grateful for it. And that's the thing. You got to get more humble the older you get, especially when you fall off. Because I know I fell off. No one virally, no one talks about DSP. Oh, the viral video he made. What? No one talks about me like that at all. Like, wow, he still exists. Oh, let me give him a look. Holy shit, I actually still like this. And then some people will come by and support.
Not a single person ever went through that scenario. Nobody woke up one day who was once a DSP fan, forgot about DSP, and was on a humbug reminded of him, and then went to his stream and started to support. That's Phil pumping out a scenario in his head that he would like to happen. Phil, for most people, they know that you exist. They just wonder why you're still on YouTube. That's the real question. A lot of people wonder why YouTube haven't done anything about you because they believe that you've broken terms of service countless times.
That's what happens from time to time. You get people, wow, I watched him like 10, 15 years ago. Holy shit, he still makes content. And then they come watch for a bit and support. And that's awesome. But you're not getting anyone mainstream talking to me or anything. You know, it's never going to be like that again, right?
Remember all those viral videos that was happening around Doom and remember Zelda as well, when that went crazy on the internet because people were making fun of him. And it was millions and millions of views that those clips were getting. And it's funny that from that pool, just mathematically speaking, from that pool of eyeballs, he was not able to convert anyone into a longtime viewer at all. Because you have to imagine that some people checked out his content or content related to him to a certain degree, and every single one of them was turned off. Just think about that.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with jealousy as long as you don't turn it into something toxic. I think jealousy is something that actually is a natural result of hard work and seeing others who get maybe more lucky than you or for whatever reason surpass you. And then you're like, well, shit. You know, Fox McFox did a $5 super chat. He says, I've always wondered why people choose you to make memes of. What did you do to get so many people to dislike you? I think there's just completely different rationales for that. But the common thing is that everyone just made me the meme or butt of the joke. And so making fun of DSP is just the common thing to do.
No, he's not addressing the why of the situation. And this is what Phil loves to do. He loves to throw a bunch of ingredients into the pot so he can mix it around and then you won't know what it is. The color's off, the consistency off, it doesn't quite taste right. You know how he get down.
Regardless of the fact that there may not be a common reason why. And that's the truth. If you were to ask 10 people right now, why don't you like DSP? Or why do you make fun of DSP? I don't think 10 people would even give you the same answer. Right? I don't. Some people still have misconceptions about me that have been completely dispelled.
Now, people not being to give you a consensus, is that more of a testament to their thought process or the amount of things that you've done? And I don't understand why he would propose something to the internet and expect a consensus to begin with. That makes no sense. But of course, we're talking about Darksydephil. Now, if you ask them one question, sure, that might be true. But I guarantee you, if you ask 10 different people 3 reasons why they don't like you, you're going to start seeing a lot of crossover with those answers.
Or the reason today that someone would say, like, he plays a mobile game. That literally used to be the reason for some people. He plays a mobile game. The origins of it, okay, were that in around 2010, 2011, that's when this started. I was very popular on YouTube. Okay, I was one of the top gaming YouTubers for like 3-4 years in a row. I was at the top of the pack. I had more views than most, even though overall I didn't have more subs. I had more views. I was bringing in some months over, I think that my highest month, I'm not 100% sure, but I think one month I had something like over 20 million views in 1 month on my channel. And again, I'm a one-man show. This is not a team, a corporation, a group of people editing and everything. It's one guy bringing in 20 million views. You know.
So what? Who cares? You don't want to speak to the time-specific things that contributed to your success as well. You would try to make it seem as if it was just all you putting in all this work while not acknowledging the other things that contributed to your success as well. This is why people don't like you, Phil, because again, you're disingenuous and you could talk about 20 million views all you want to, but people only respect things that are hard to achieve. Now, you can say 20 million views is hard to achieve, but it depends on what path that you take, right? You take the path of least resistance the way he did, it cheapens the accomplishment, right? This is why people don't like Nepo babies, because they feel like they're in a position that they did not earn. This is why people in corporate America don't like when people screw their way to the top, because regardless of the position that they eventually achieve, deep down, nobody really respects them because they know they did not earn it. It's not that deep, Phil. This is basic human principles. And this is not even a cultural thing. I mean, these are things that are universal, but you don't understand it.
That's pretty insane, right? But what happened was I got cocky. And when I started to play certain games, I would fuck around on purpose because that's what I did back then. We're talking here about Metal Gear. Well, never did I ever think that when I played Metal Gear Solid and I basically kept insulting Hideo Kojima, which was a joke, it wasn't real, it wasn't me actually caring about him at all in any capacity.
What do you mean when you say it's not real? Are people's eyes deceiving them? Because you would like to claim that you were playing some type of character so you can absolve yourself from any accountability from the stupid things that you've said? That's really all this is. You pull this character card when it's convenient for you, Phil. And a lot of the things that you claim you did back then, you're still doing today. So are you in character now, or is this you?
Okay. I actually think that it was just me making these jokes because thinking, oh, this won't be a big deal because I do this to everyone. But everyone got upset about me, about making fun of Hideo Kojima during my first playthroughs of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 and things like that. And then people were like, well, you suck at this game. And I was like, well, even if I do, you have no right to steal my content and talk about it. That was my attitude back then.
And see, a lot of the stuff back then, when you go look back at the Sons of Kojima and the original This Is How You Don't Play, the frustration with Phil, especially back then, was his inability to try to engage with the game mechanics. Phil has a very hard head. So his mentality is, I'm going to smash my head against this wall with the hopes that my head is harder than this wall and it will eventually break. So if I fall, at least I'll fall forward.
Everyone had a different conception of what was fair use and what, today we know, like, This Is How You Don't Play, as long as it's made into a transformative work, is legal. Back then, no one knew that. Back then, everyone thought you're just stealing content, It was a very different time. But I think that's what it was. It was the cockiness that I had and the shit-talking attitude that I had. I was very pugnacious, quick to jump and insult and fight, as opposed to just being chill. I was the opposite of chill back then.
I would agree with jump and insult. Fight is where we draw the line. We know you're not getting physical with no goddamn body. You might try to swat a fly and dislocate your damn shoulder, Phil. I mean, this guy doesn't have an athletic bone in his body. So just stop with the nonsense.
Seriously, like every stream was about me yelling and screaming and getting all upset. There was no chill Phil at all back then. And I think then what people said was, well, what we could do is we can expose Phil, show that he's actually not good at games, which, by the way, I knew I wasn't good at games. I never said I was, but I would joke about it and say, oh, it's the game's fault or this or that. That was my character back then, right? It was always blame the game. It's never the gamer's fault. It's always the game's fault.
Well, how is that any different than what we see today, Phil? I would say in some cases you've gotten worse because at least back then, it seems as if you actually liked playing the games. Now we know you don't care about games at all. In fact, I think you crossed the line into hating games. I'm serious, man, because if he was as passionate about the stuff that he claims he is, why is he always late? Why does it always feel as if he just rolled out of bed and low crawled into his spare bedroom to play these games? It's never no joy. He's never happy. He's never really in a good mood. It's just, here I am, give me money. Y'all know what time it is. It's like Groundhog Day with this dude.
But yeah, that's when they started, This Is How You Don't Play. And that's when public opinion started to turn against me. And then since then, it's always another reason. Oh, it's because he doesn't like Kojima. He's a bad gamer. Oh, it's because his setup's completely outdated. He doesn't live stream. He doesn't direct capture. Oh, it's because, he does this. He doesn't. I mean, I could go through probably 17, 18 reasons why people claim that I'm a negative lolcow meme, but none of them make any sense when you analyze them. It's just what everyone said at the time. And then you're on to the next. And then
That's not true at all. I would venture to say, and I can't speak for everybody, but even though humans generally are different, we're also very similar, right? And people do not naturally want to dislike other people. You have to do something or a series of some things, if you will, to really evoke that emotion in someone, because that's a mainstay type of feeling. When you hate someone, that's a state of being. That's not, I can't even call that an emotion because an emotion will pass, right? But hatred is just like, can't stand this dude. But the primary reason why people have that feeling about you is how you treat other people, Phil. Seriously, if we had a depth chart, that would be numero uno. And I don't even think it's close. So when you add to that begging, being terrible at video games, no accountability, your hubris, and a number of other things that are undesirable about you, then yes, people are going to come up with a bunch of different reasons why they don't like you. But let's be clear. The number one reason is because it's the way that you treat other people, primarily the people that sustain your life.
Then on to the next. Just like I said, it's moving the goalpost. And that's all it's been, is every single time that one thing isn't a big deal anymore, they make something else up, or they make something else to be a big deal that wasn't a big deal yesterday, just so that they have something more to say about me, right? So anyway, yeah. Fox did another $2 super chat. Do you think it's the way you treat people? See, here's the thing. You can argue that maybe I've treated some people badly, but, you know, those people are not the public. I never treated the public badly. I was never someone who went out there and did political content or religious content or said insanely over-the-top risque things. That was never me.
That's exactly who you are, Phil. What is this guy talking about, man? And what does he mean by public? Phil is always trying to introduce modifiers to absolve himself from obviously terrible behavior. It wasn't the public. What the hell does that even mean? Because you didn't go into the grocery store and insult somebody about Street Fighter, that makes it okay? And me personally, I don't even really care because it's just the internet, right? But for him to come on here and act as if he's never done anything and he does not understand it, and it was beneficial for the internet to pick somebody to be the whipping boy, and they just so happened to pick him. What a convenient story.
There are people you can say, well, they acted badly. They're constantly going out there and they're saying horrible things about certain groups and this and that. That's not me, ever. Never was that the case with me. I think the worst thing you could say I ever said was back in the day, I hated on people who played Minecraft and said that they were immature. It's a game for children. Now that's false, and now I know that. But that's the kind of dumb shit I would say. It was always about gaming and stuff like that. I never really said offensive things. I never, you know, was massively mistreating people and stuff.
See, Phil, every time you try to create a redemption arc, or you feel like you maybe can have a moment of honesty, you double down on the dumb shit, man. As if we don't have archives full of videos of you mistreating people and treating people like garbage. Are you really going to sit here and say the worst thing you've done in almost 20 years is say somebody is immature for liking goddamn Minecraft, dude? Who do you think you talking to, man? Who's going? Not even the most dented of dents is going to buy this story.
That's, you know, that's my take on it. And like I said, the people who maybe you could argue I mistreated, like John Rambo, all right, well, that's a personal thing between me and him. That's not, why would the public be angry at me because I had a falling out with my friend and coworker, right?
Well, because you're a public figure. So naturally, people are going to take interest in the things that you do, particularly the things that are behind the curtain that people are not, quote unquote, supposed to see. Phil, that's another layer of entertainment, dude. My goodness, you still, like, once again, like I said, you don't understand this. But what's interesting about this whole John Rambo situation, PPP invited him, right, to come hang out in Florida, I believe, at Hulk Hogan's bar. And he went on and on and on about how PPP had gay tendencies, he was attracted to him, yada, yada, yada. But you were paying John Rambo to come to your house. So what does that say about you, Phil? I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
I don't know. But again, it's just nonsense, you know. It's just utter nonsense. There never really is again, if there really was one focal point reason why people don't like me, everyone would be able to say it right now. But they can't. Literally, everyone will say something different. Oh, well, I don't like that he took money and he played on mobile games. Oh, well, I don't like that he played games poorly. I don't like that he insulted Hideo Kojima. I don't like that he begs for money. I don't like that. So there's no consensus. You just...
Why would it be? This is the internet. And primarily, it's your lies. You think he's trying to act as if somebody cared about you playing a mobile game on your phone. Nobody cares about that. The layer that you're missing or that you're omitting is that you were begging for money as if you were going to lose things. You were telling people that you were going to lose your house all the while you were playing the mobile game. That's a huge piece of the puzzle that you keep conveniently leaving out when you have these rant/cope sessions. Don't nobody care about what you do with your phone. But when you come onto the stream, right, and when you make it quote unquote public, like you like to say, and you start to emotionally drag people into your personal life to the point where they know the inner workings of some of your finances, right, Phil? Because that's what you were doing. So stop playing games.
Don't like me because people don't like me. And that's the case. People don't like DSP because it's a known thing that you're supposed to not like DSP. Get it? Like, it's hip, it's cool. That's the meme. You're in on it if you don't like DSP. Okay? That's the answer.
Phil is taking this internet stuff a little too seriously. Phil, you are acting as if people are congregating outside of the internet, meeting up places to have DSP hate festivals or something while wearing matching t-shirts. It is not that deep, bro. We look at you, like I said before, as poetry in motion, but the bad way, right? A bad car crash, or you at the gas station, you see a couple get into a verbal altercation, you know, you kind of laugh to yourself or whatever, right? That's what it is. So we look at you and we point and we laugh in passing on the way to our real lives and doing the things that we actually care about. Nobody actually really cares about you, Phil. And that's the part that you're missing. You think because people are speaking on you that they care about you, but you don't understand that you're a damn clown. And so we laugh.
There isn't actually a real reason. You the Nation did a $10 super chat. That's our biggest of the week so far. Haters gonna hate. I say screw them. The Philomaniacs are here to stay. You're the master of your own destiny. Get out there and finish the story. Cody Rhodes music plays. Oh, trust me, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Tell me, that was some of the lamest shit you never heard in a long time. And I'm not trying to get over. All right, people can like what they like. It is what it is. You know, I grew up, you know, watching wrestling in the Attitude Era. I was a huge fan. You know, I think we all were. And it's okay if you still like it now. It's all entertainment. I mean, everything you watch on television is rehearsed or whatever, you know. It's just funny that the way they framed it. This whole segment right here to me was like a grown man bragging about being the strongest person in a room full of kids. Because Phil was bragging about his accomplishments. But as soon as everybody caught up or access, right? People got more access to YouTube. People really started taking YouTube seriously. He immediately became irrelevant from a technical standpoint, from a talent standpoint, in terms of what he delivered to the marketplace. He has no real value. And that's just the truth. And I'm not trying to get over, but it just is what it is. And some of us are late bloomers. We all got cousins or homeboys or whoever who, you know, they in their mid-30s, almost 40 years old, and they still don't get it. And you're just like, I just don't understand it. But some people never bloom at all. And that's what Phil is. Because even early on when he was talking about Justin Wong and how he had more time to him, no, Justin Wong is more talented than you are. And he always will be. Justin Wong has more talent in his pinky toe than you have in your whole damn body. And it's not even close. I would even venture to say that Justin Wong could take a year off from playing any fighting game, all fighting games, come back and still destroy you, Phil. You know why? Because you're bullheaded. And I'm not even saying that Phil's terrible at fighting games, because he's not terrible. It's just his approach to life. He applies to fighting games as well. He's just going to keep trying to do the same thing until it works. Versus Justin, who has a very, very high understanding of fighting games in general. The mechanics, he knows how to bait you. He knows how to do throw loops. He knows how to rush you down. He can adjust because he actually understands what's going on. Opposed to Phil, the second something happens, he throws his hands in the air and has a damn hissy fit. And then that's followed by a cope cast, trying to convince you what you just saw did not happen. It's just crazy, man. But that's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Urban style content. I'm dead.